Okay, so I know these videos are usually in the dark, but it's the middle of the day, and I still have an idea that I want to share. So you guys are just gonna get to look at my fun canopy. Um, but this idea is really, really, really soft and kind of dumb, but it's just I keep thinking about it and it makes me smile. But okay, so it's like an AU where Jimin and Tae are like they're in their early 30s or so, and they probably used to date probably when they were in college or maybe like right out of it, like 5 or 6 years ago. I guess it'd be more than like 5 or 6 years ago, like a while ago, closer to a decade than to like 5 years. And they didn't date for like a long time. It was probably like 6, 7 months or so, and what ended up happening was one of them, like I think it was probably Jimin. Jimin probably like had to move away for like a job or something like that, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, it's like fine." They were probably both really sad about it, but it was like an amicable breakup, like they were sad about it, and they liked each other a lot, but they're in their early 30s, and Jimin moves back to whatever town he originally came from, whatever place, and Taehyung's there, and she like calls him up. Oh yeah, this has gender bent Taehyung also, by the way. Um, but she like calls him up, and she's like, "Hey, you're like back in town." And he's like, "Yeah. How'd you know?" And she's like, "Oh, I saw it on Facebook or something because they're old people. They use Facebook now." Um, and she's like, "Hey, so do you want to like go out to dinner with me?" And Jim was like, "Yeah, sure, that sounds great. I'd like love to catch up. It's been like forever." Like they kept in touch, but it wasn't like, it's kind of like the liking each other's Facebook posts and occasionally like texting each other memes when you're really drunk, kind of keeping up. Not like, you know, like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna drive like half a state away to see you," or whatever. Not like that kind of, keeping up with each other. But and so they go out to dinner and they're just like chatting for a while, and like, it's like normal conversation, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a good time," and Jimin's like, "Oh man, I missed you, like it's good," and Tae's just like, "Oh yeah, you're like in a relationship now? Did you like move back with someone? Did you leave someone behind?" And Jimin's like, "Oh no, 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 not dating anyone right now." And Tae's like, "Oh," and Jimin's like, "Are you?" And Tae's like, "No, not really. I mean, you know, life busy." Jim was like, "Yeah, I get that." But Tay's answer is like kind of weird. And she just looks like really nervous and like kind of just like, like making really intense eye contact with her food or something like that. And Jimin's like, "Okay, that's a little weird." But anyways, the conversation goes on for a while, and Tay just keeps like looking more and more and more nervous and like really weird. And Jimin's just like, "Are you like okay?" And Tay's just like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's okay. Like, it's no big deal. Like, it's just fine." And he's just like, "If you need to go, like, throw up or something, I would rather you just, like, go do it and, like, not, like, put yourself through all of this." And she's just like, "No, God, no." And it's, like, horrifically embarrassing and awkward. This whole, like, fig idea is just incredibly embarrassing. Like, let's just get that out of the way now. It's, like, so awkward from, like, step 1 to 2. Wait, 1 to 2. There are multiple steps. There are more steps than that. God, I'm really sleep deprived. But and so and eventually Jimin's just like, "Okay, whatever's wrong. I'm just like gonna let it lie, like whatever." And eventually she's just like, "Okay, so I have to like be honest. Like the entire reason. I mean, like I saw you back in town and I like you a lot, but that's like not like the whole reason." Oh, I wonder if I'm waving my hands over the camera. Um, but that's like not the whole reason that I invited you here. And Jimin's just like, "Oh, what's the whole reason?" And Tae's just like, this is incredibly embarrassing." And she probably just does like the little tiny scream in her hands. Um, not like a scream, but like an ah. That is a scream, like a little scream. And she's just like, "Okay, well, to be totally honest, I'm like looking for a sperm donor." And Jimin just goes like like many, many, many choking noises, and it's just like incredibly awkward and just like, like, is there any way that you can ask someone to like give their jizz to you, like non-awkwardly. I really don't think there is. Um but anyways, and I want them like, I don't know, I kind of want them having like this really intense conversation in a fucking restaurant where Jimin is like, "Oh," and Tae's like, "Yeah, I want a kid." And Jimin's like, "Oh." And at first he's kind of like, "Oh, well, Tae's not that old, you know what I'm talking about." And he's just like, "Oh, do you like think you're not going to find anyone?" And Tae's just like, "No, it's not that. It's just like," she sits there for like a long time. She's like, "I haven't really talked about this to anyone." Talked about this with anyone. And she's just like, "I don't know. I kind of want like Tae telling Jimin like, like the idea of like having a family. Like I've always wanted a family. I've always wanted to like get married." And Jimin's like, "Yeah, me too," because they're both like fucking disgusting saps. But she's just like, "Yeah, I always wanted to get married and I always wanted to like have kids and stuff like that." But like at a certain point I realized that the the kid is like more important than like the idea of like having like a significant other. You know what I'm talking about? Like, and I kind of want her being like, "Yeah, like my mom was a single mom. Like her dad was like there when she was like young, but like kind of left and just like wasn't really like a big part of the picture." And Taylor was just like, "I was like completely fine." And like it really sucked for her mom to like think that she was going to have someone around to help and like there wasn't. And Tay was like, "I think I'm in a place where I could probably like deal with it on my own." And I don't know, I kind of want that. And like when it comes to date, she's like, and Jimin's like, "But then like are you afraid you're like not gonna find anybody to like date or whatever?" And Tay's just like, "Yeah, I mean, but like it kind of does weed out like certain people who are just like, no, I don't want kids, I don't want to fuck with that." And like I kind of want her just being like, "I just don't really want to wait anymore." Like, she's like, "I'm like, you've been gone for like, not gone, but we haven't talked in like nearly a decade." And like, it was like, dating back then was like fun and cool. And I had like a couple really good relationships and they just ended. And I feel like I've got this like gigantic pile of crap where I just keep dating people and it's like, oh, sure, sure. I'm like, "Oh yeah, do you want to like family?" And they're like, "Yeah, I don't even know if I want to get married." And she's just like, "Oh, okay." And it feels like a really big like waste of time. And she's just like sitting there like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting when like what she actually wants is like perfectly acquirable, and what she wants is a kid, and like the significant other is like more secondary. And Jimin's just like, that just seems really like, I kind of want him being like a little, not like offensive, but like just a little bit of a dick about the whole thing. Not like not like on purpose, but it's just like it has to do with like his ideas of like what family is and like what's the best. And he's just like, that seems like really sad, just like being on your own, like you're not gonna have anybody there to help you while you're like pregnant and like blah, blah, blah. And then Jimin just has like this whole moment where he's like, "Oh, did you like, oh," and it's just so awkward. And he's like, "Did you want me to be involved or something like that is like a thing?" And Tay's like, "No, I mean," and they're both just like sitting there at this fucking restaurant table and just like they're just red and like it's uncomfortable. And June is just sitting there and he's like, "I have not been this embarrassed since I was 15, I'm pretty sure." And it's just like it's a lot. But I kind of want Jimin being like, "It seems like so sad to just like do that on your own." And Taehyung's like, "I mean, like I'm not gonna be on my own. I have like good friends and I have like people who care about me." And she's like, "Oh yeah, my mom is gonna help me and stuff like that and it'll be okay." And I just like, I don't know. I just want Taehyung really wanting a baby. Why am I so soft for this? Oh god, I'm gonna cry. I'm like really crying. She just like wants a family and like a kid. Um, Jesus fucking Christ. And like I think like when you're going like out of your way, like out of your way, like not even like within the context of like, "Oh yeah, I'm married," and like pregnancy is like maybe a thing that happens accidentally sometimes. I think like this is not related to the fan fiction at all, but it was something I've noticed. I remember when I was like a kid, or not like a kid but like in high school or whatever, and like talking about like you know like our parents and stuff. Every once in a while somebody would be like, "Yeah, I was an accident," and then like 80% of the table would be like, "Yeah, I was an accident too." And that's not to say like obviously not like an accident like bad, like my mom got pregnant with me by accident, and she was just like, "Yeah, you're really great," and she loves me to death, and it's like it's fine. But I think like when you're going like there's like the kind of like pregnancy that happens like when you're in a marriage and it's just kind of like, oh, well, it happened. It's not the end of the world. Like, let's have a kid. Or like that was probably going to happen at some point, or maybe we were probably going to talk about it at some point, or we talked about it before. And it's just like, yeah, like that's like the natural consequence of like having sex. But like when you're like going out of your way to like get a child, I feel like there's another like Taehyung has never really struck me. I don't know. Taehyung has never really seemed to be like the kind of person who like he thinks about stuff, but I don't think sometimes he like really really deeply considers things like on his own. I think sometimes that's like something that other people kind of like not like push him into, but they're like, "Oh yeah, but this." And he's like, "Oh yeah, but that." And then he'll think about it like for a long time. But I think like kind of in this AU, I want Jimin like knowing that Taehyung is like not the kind of person who like goes on these like incredibly like, oh yeah, I want to think like really like philosophically about stuff and like blah 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 blah. And she's just like sitting there in that restaurant with him, and she's just like, I don't know, I think there's something really special about family, and there's something really like special about like being able to bring a life into the world. And I like know it seems kind of selfish to be just like, oh yeah, like I want a baby like right now because like I want a child. But like I like she like wants there's something like really incredible about being able to like take another like little human being and like raise them and like teach them about the world and like help them grow and like turn into like a really like good adult. And I think that's like it's just so cool. And that's not always how it turns out, but I just think it's really 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 cool. And there's something really like magical about children. And I just want Tay like sitting there and just being like, yeah, I've been thinking about it, and I just like I really want it, and I've wanted it for so long. And I think I'm in a place where I can like actually have a kid, and like financially and emotionally, and like have the time to like support them and like do everything that I want with them. And I want, oh god, I'm gonna cry. I can't. This is so fucking soft. Oh god, wait till you get to the end of this fic. It's fucking soft, or it's not a real fic. I'm never gonna write it, but it's just so, and I want it. I want Jimin just like sitting there and being like, oh god, oh god, oh god, and not like being afraid because it's like incredibly personal, but just being like, oh my god, this is like incredibly personal. And he's just like, I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have like said the whole thing about it being like sad. And Dave's like, no, it's fine, I like get it, like there's like a difference between like like a single mom and like a really big family. And she's just like, I think like she's like, I think it's like different, but it's not like worse. And Jimin's like, yeah, I can like see that. And Tay's like, I know you didn't, you had like a whole ass family. Jimin had like multiple siblings and shit. And Jimin's like, yeah, it's like big. And I don't know, I want him just thinking about like he's just imagining Tay in like a little tiny house with like one kid, and like getting up at all hours of the night, and then like childcare during the day. And he's just like, that just seems so like exhausting. And she's like, I think it'll be okay. I'll have like my she's like, I'll have my mom to help out, and I have lots of friends who are all kind of like, I haven't like talked to them, but I think they'll be like really supportive of me, and some of them already have kids. And he's just like, yeah, that seems like reasonable, that's like fair. And oh god, I'm so fucking soft. And they like have that whole conversation that's like really like personally intense, and like kind of gets into like the nature of family and like all that fucking shit. And then Jimin's just like, he just like sits there for like a solid like minute or two, and he's just like, wait, why did you ask me? And Tae's like, I don't know, man. And they both just sit there and they laugh for like a solid like 3 or 4 minutes. And, like the waiter comes by and like refills their drinks and like asks them if anything's okay, and they just like can't really stop laughing. The waiter's just like like a thumbs up, and the waiter's just like, okay. That was a little odd. And it's like not actually that funny. I finally stopped laughing, and Tay's like, no, that's like not true. I had a reason. I just like Jimin's like, no, I get you. And she's just like, yeah, I don't know, I saw you were, I was like on Facebook. And she just starts laughing again. She's just like, I saw that you were on Facebook, and like on Facebook that you were coming back, like here, and I've been thinking about this for like a couple months, and I don't know, I'm just like, I've never dated anyone who's like, is like genuinely like sweet and kind and like caring as a person. And Jimin just starts crying a little bit, and she's like, "You're also a little bit of a bitch, but I think I can deal with that quality in a child." And Jimin's like, "Fuck you!" And they start laughing again, and I'm crying. Oh, okay, I'm alright. Everything's gonna be okay. I don't know if I can post this on the internet when I cry this much. It's embarrassing. Um, but and they like finish that whole conversation, and she's just like, you don't like have to answer me now, and it's not like there's like a really like intense like timer on it or whatever. Like it's just whenever. Even if you get me pregnant, it's gonna be like 9 months after that. Like I got plenty of time. And I want it just being like so like horrifically awkward. The two of them just like keep like breaking into laughter, and they like can't keep straight faces. And it's like not because like it's not because they're not like taking the situation seriously. I think Tay's been thinking about it for like a long ass fucking time, and she's just like, yeah, this is like what I want. But it's just like something about like looking into Jimin's fucking face, and it's just like it's just embarrassing. It's a lot. It is so much. But and then I think I want it to be like a couple weeks later that Jimin like calls her back, and she's just like, oh wait, I left out a really important part of the conversation. Fuck. Jesus Christ. No, but I kind of want Jimin talking about like, because they both like one of the things that they both like know about each other is that both of them like always wanted to get married and have kids, because that's what they're like in real life. They're fucking, I was about to say gay ass motherfuckers, but it's probably not. That's not. You know what I mean? They're romantics. But and I kind of went like Jimin talking about like, oh yeah, I've like always wanted to get married, and he's like, I imagine like when I would like first like when I would like have kids, it'd be like with a significant other. And Taehyung is just like, no, I like totally get that, and if you like don't want to do it, it's like cool. And Jimin's like, I mean, yeah, but I think for Jimin, like the idea of like having like even like being a single dad or something like that, and like having kids like outside of a significant other, like obviously it's one thing if you like end up as a single dad like because of extenuating circumstances, but like the idea of like adopting or somehow acquiring a child like outside of like marriage is just like, no, he's like not about that. He's like, I want like the whole thing. I want like the whole family and like a wife and like multiple little children that I can put tiny shoes on. And Tay's like, yeah, I like get that. I want to put tiny shoes on babies. I love their little tiny feet and their little tiny toes and their little tiny fingers. And it's so cute, and I love. This whole thing has just made me really soft and emotional. I'm like still crying a little bit. This is like so much. I'm not gonna be able to put this on the internet. um, but and I think that's like kind of the thing that Jimin has to like think about. Like in between the time where he like answers Tay, is like he's got to think about like, is it okay, like, and I feel like you probably have some more questions for Tay. And it's like, oh yeah, do you want me to like be involved like at all? And Taehyung's like, I don't know, I mean like I want her being like, I mean like it's like you can negotiate. It's like this is a weird thing to negotiate for. But I kind of want her being like, I mean, I'm not like looking for like a relationship or like, like a father figure or anything like that, but I also like think it's like weird to like, like have a kid and then just like pretend the kid isn't yours and like not ever be in their lives. And Jimin's like, yeah, I like get that too. And Taehyung's like, that's like why I wanted to be like a friend and not like, I didn't want to go to like a fucking sperm bank and get some strange sperm. And Jimin's like, please stop saying the word sperm. And then Taehyung probably says it like 5 more times because she is a child. But I think that would probably be like the thing that Jimin's gotta like think about. He's like, okay, yeah, not like limited involvement in like a kid's life, but also like like first starting like having kids like outside of marriage and like you know him just kind of coming to terms with that and figuring out if it's something he really wants. But also like Taehyung is a good person. Taehyung's like a really sweet, she's nice and she's really good, and she was just like, yeah, I think there's something really like special about being able to like raise a kid and like try to do it well and like really like caring about them and helping them grow into like a really cool adult person. And Jim was just like, yeah, that is really special. I think that's kind of the conclusion that he'd come to. He's like, it's like kind of a cool chance to like do something and do something with someone he like really, like likes a lot. They haven't seen each other in a long ass time. They probably need to get to know each other a little bit more. I didn't think about that. But like it's just special. And it's like nice. And Jimin's like, I think that could be something like really like good to do with my life, and I think it could be really nice. I don't know. And I think eventually he like says yes, and they like, oh god, it's so awkward. And Jimin's like, sweetie, like that weird artificial insemination shit, right? And he's just like choking because it's really awkward. I wonder. I don't know. Maybe when I'm like 30, I'll feel less awkward about saying the words artificial insemination. It's really funny because I talk about like fucking Kim Namjoon choking on a fat dick like until like the end of time, but I can't say artificial insemination without like which is really funny. But I'm still crying. But and I think it'd be like Jim and me, like, so we do like that like shit, right? And she's like, it's like really expensive and like probably not necessary. It's not like we're like like struggling or whatever. We're both like pretty young, and everyone's like, okay, so you wanna like do like a turkey baster thing? And Tate's like, I do not want to put a turkey baster in my vagina. Like hard pass. And Jimin's just like, they're just like staring at each other. Tate's like, you don't really have to, you know what, dude? It's like not that big of a deal. And Jimin's like, and there's just like a lot of really awkward babbling on both sides.